Okay, so my cousin, Austin, he texted me the other day and he asked me a question. He said, do you lift heavier weights for less reps to get bigger and lighter weights for more reps to get more cut? Which is something that, goes around. That's what people believe, right? I mean, I've heard that a million times. It's not true, however, at all, because when you lift weights, you're doing it to break down your muscles, to get stronger, to build muscle, to get bigger. That's the purpose of lifting weights. You don't lift weights to get cut. I mean, I guess you'll look more cut if you build more muscle. But the only way you get cut is by losing body fat and revealing what is there underneath the body fat. That's it. Right? So you lift weights to break the muscles down, to tear the muscles apart so that they adapt and grow bigger and stronger, to get bigger. And you lose body fat to get more cut, to reveal what is underneath that fat. And that's really all you can do. That's it. I guess that myth or whatever could have came from the fact that if you do train lighter, there's a good chance that you'll train with better form and you might hit your muscles better. So you might focus on the muscle a little better if you train lighter for higher reps. And that might just be part of that phase. Like if you are trying to cut down, you're probably going to train lighter because you're going to get weaker because you're cutting down, you're getting smaller. I'm kind of going through that right now. I've been cutting down and I started at 270. I'm 235 right now. And really my strength just started to dip off a little bit. I've stayed pretty strong. I was pretty strong at 240 still. But 235, quite a bit smaller, and I felt it a little bit. And there's a lot of factors involved. There's leverage is a factor that's involved. You don't have as good leverage when you're smaller. So it's just to be expected. If you're not always carbed up to the max, you're not going to have as much cushion there in your joints. But still pretty strong though. So it's not bad. I'm definitely not feeling weak. And I'm eating a lot of food and everything still. So it's not like I'm doing any kind of crazy depletion. I'm just doing the slow and steady gradual approach basically. It's going good. I'm not feeling too run down. It's not suffering. It's pretty easy. But yeah, that's just one of those myths, and there's a lot of those out there, There's a lot of these myths and ideas of how to train when things, in a way, they're much simpler, if you think about it. You can only do two things, really. You could build muscle, you could lose fat. Both of those things are going to make you more cut because you're just going to have more to show underneath the fat, the more muscle you have. And the less fat you have, the more you're going to show what you do have, right? So, but it makes it a lot simpler in your mind on what to do when you realize those things. That was a good question though, that was a good question. I was thinking about something else too, kind of unrelated, but, it's like for me, I know how to do all these things. It's just a matter of doing them. And, I was thinking about it, like when I first got into bodybuilding, um, I was really young, and um, part of it was I was always naturally just a really big kid, and I didn't want to be so big, and when I found out that you could train to change yourself, I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, wow, that's really awesome that you can eat a certain way and train a certain way, and you can actually change, because I had thought that you're just born the way that you're born and that's it, because people are just naturally so much different. And I was just a really, really big kid, kind of awkward, when I was younger. Kind of just wanted to like fit in a little bit more, blend in, not stand out. And so, I wanted to learn all this stuff, but I wouldn't say, in terms of bodybuilding, I wouldn't say I was gifted in it. Wasn't naturally built well, not naturally super lean. My legs have always been naturally super lean, but that's about it. For some reason, my legs are just totally shredded all the time. I don't carry any fat in my legs ever, no matter how big I get. But like for me to have like a six pack, it's almost like I was born to not have a six pack. Like all my body fat I carry in my torso. So I just basically have to get super lean to have like a six pack. So I have to get my body fat levels really, really low. Some people can have a six pack and have the same body fat percent that I have right now, because my body fat percentage is probably not that high. It's just I carry it in my midsection, where somebody else might carry it in their legs. So they could have a higher body fat percentage and have a six pack. But anyways, I was thinking about this stuff, and I was thinking of the people I've known in my life and come across in my life. And it's just so interesting because I was thinking about this with my martial arts and just competing in different things. I would say that I was naturally gifted in strength. I responded to strength training like really quickly, really well. I was just naturally a strong guy, but not like having a bodybuilding physique or anything like that. But the way to achieve it, it's like I can achieve it, but I just have to be disciplined. I have to be consistent. I have to be hardworking, intense, diligent, focused. All these values, and it always seems to come back to values for me, everything. And it's just interesting because like I remember just one random example. I remember when I was 19 and I was training for the teenage Mr. San Jose competition. This is a long time ago now because I'm 36 now. I was 19 and I used to go to this Max Muscle store in San Jose, and the owner had won the Mr. San Jose competition. His name was Lance Tomlinson, and Lance was Mr. San Jose. He had won the Mr. San Jose competition, and he was cool enough, because I bought all my supplements there and stuff. He did my diet for me. He did my whole nutrition plan for me for free, and helped me prepare for this bodybuilding competition, which was really cool. And then that's where I realized, like, if you have a good coach, they could just show you exactly what to do. You just have to do it. And so I had the discipline to do it. I had the work ethic, all that stuff, right? The motivation, the drive, the determination. And there was a guy there that worked at Max Muscle, His name was, I think his name was Jeff Connolly, if I remember correctly. I can't remember for sure, but I think his name was Jeff Connolly. And he worked for Lance, and he was going in on an investment in a gym or something like that, with Lance. And, they were partners or something, but, I just knew Jeff because he worked the front desk. And while I was preparing for the teenage bodybuilding competition, Jeff was preparing for the open men's division. And I had never seen this guy, like, what he looked like. Like, he always had like sweatpants on and a sweater and stuff like that. Well, one day Jeff shows me, I remember him just randomly showing me his calves. And like, I have really good calves naturally. I got really good genetics. Everybody always says like, your calves are crazy. So Jeff's calves were the craziest calves I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, they look like my calves, but they were like 23 inches. I mean, unbelievable. This dude was unbelievable. And as it turned out, his whole entire body was like, everything. The guy was just unbelievable. One of the most talented people I've ever come across in terms of bodybuilding. Like, I was like, this guy could be Mr. Olympia. I mean, this guy was unreal. Way more talent than me. Way more talent than me. Way more potential. Way better genetics. But Jeff, he was doing some stuff. I mean, he was telling me he was, he at least, I don't know if it was true, but he said he was doing like a human growth hormone, like IV drip in the middle of the night or something. And when he was sleeping, and I know he was doing all these different drugs, steroids, and all this stuff. And I wasn't into any of that stuff. Just completely natural, doing everything naturally. But I just remember thinking like, man, this guy is like amazing. And Jeff, I didn't know it at the time, but he must have destroyed his kidneys, whatever he was doing. He had kidney failure. He's probably on dialysis now, I'm guessing, because his calves, I remember his calves just swelled up to like 25 inches and they were full of water. And I remember him pressing on his calves and there would be like a 1-inch indentation in his calves. And then it would slowly fill with water. It was crazy looking. And then Jeff, after that happened, Jeff just disappeared. Never saw him again. I have no idea if the guy ever competed in bodybuilding. I don't know if he had. I know he showed me a video of himself when he was like a teenager or something. And he was amazing. Unbelievable. And, but after that, like, he just disappeared and never heard of nothing from him. He never became Mr. Olympia, that's for sure. I don't think he became a pro. I don't know if he ever competed in bodybuilding. And so the reason I brought this up is it's been really interesting because I've done so many sports and competed in so many things. And, I've done MMA, I've done marathon running, I've done strongman, powerlifting, and now here I'm doing bodybuilding. And I've always had, those values, like the discipline, the dedication, the determination, the work ethic, the, do what you got to do, like, to get the job done. It's like right now I'm like eating 6 times a day, doing cardio every day. I'm doing my training. Not particularly gifted or anything. I'm not naturally ripped, and look like a bodybuilder. But I know that I'll get there. It just doesn't come easy for me. And, it's just interesting that those, having those qualities though, allows you to, come through. and be successful. And it's more valuable than genetics. Now, if you get somebody with the really good genetics and they have the work ethic and all that, all the values that you need, that's when you get a world champion. That's when you get a Mr. Olympia, like that guy Jeff. If he would have had those qualities and not been so crazy, he would have been Mr. Olympia probably. Yeah, and he, because I remember too, he was dieting for the show, and he would always be eating these protein bars. They were called Detour bars that they used to have back then. And man, they were so good. They tasted like Snickers bars, for real. They were the most amazing protein bars. And somebody bought the company, changed all the ingredients. They tasted horrible. But for a while, oh my God, these Detour bars were the best thing ever. The best. They probably had a lot of fat and sugar in them, I'm going to guess. But they were the freaking best. But Jeff used to eat them all the time. Like, I'd go in there, and he would be cheating on his diet, you know? And he would tell me, he'd be like, don't tell Lance that I'm doing this. I was like, dude, don't worry. I ain't going to tell him. I don't care, you know. I'm doing my own thing. But, you know, in everything I've done, there's always been people like that, you know, it's funny because when I think about strength sports, for the most part, I was always kind of the gifted guy. Now that I think about it, I was always like highly gifted. I never came across too many people more gifted than me in strength, which is interesting. I never really thought about that because like bodybuilding, definitely people way more gifted. Fighting as well. I've come across some really gnarly fighters with just incredible talent. But a lot of times they're just such crazy individuals and loose cannons, and they just cannot keep it together at all. They cannot be consistent. They cannot be committed. They cannot have discipline. And they just, you know, a lot of them end up in like prison or something, or, you know, they do something really crazy and just throw all their gifts away, basically. You know, the first team I started out with in MMA, there was a guy, his name's Jared Wyatt, and that was my coach's cousin, and he was very talented. You know, he had crazy cardio naturally. He won a lot of fights and was really successful, and he ended up killing one of his best friends. You know, he got high, did a bunch of drugs, thought his friend was the devil, and he freaking beat him to death and killed him. That's kind of a dark story there, but you know, you have to have those qualities. You have to have consistency, and it's not very fancy. It's not very romantic. It's not very alluring, you know. It's just the truth. You just have to have discipline, consistency, a good work ethic. You know, you gotta have motivation, you gotta have intensity, you have to have passion, I guess. I mean, you know, you gotta want it. You gotta want it enough to do it. You have to have that mental resolve to make up your mind and follow through on it. And it's amazing. Like, I've always had that quality. I just set my mind to things and I just do them. You know, I remember my brother-in-law, David, telling me that one time. He goes, you know, everything you ever say you're going to do, you always do it. And it's just because I just make up my mind and then I figure out what I have to do and then I just do it. And that's it, you know, and it might take me longer than somebody else. It might take me more work than somebody else. But I just know that I could do it. And I think I also have a good mind of, you know, like, for example, I'm doing bodybuilding. If I didn't have any potential, I don't think I would do it. You know, I when I was really young, I liked basketball a lot. I really did. In middle school, I was like really into basketball. I wanted to be Michael Jordan when I was in 7th, 8th grade. But then I just realized, I was like, man, I am not very tall. I'm 5'10". I'm not super fast. I can't jump super high. And so I'm not talented enough to go super far in this, and I made a practical decision. I think that's when I got into weightlifting and realized I was very talented at that. And I got into wrestling and I was very talented at that actually too. And I could see that I could have really great potential in those pursuits. So being practical too is a big thing, I think. You see some people who are very, very skinny and they want to be really big and strong, and it's like, man, why don't you if I were you, I would be a marathon runner. I would be an endurance athlete. It's like, embrace the gifts that God has given you, you know? Why not? But do what you love is even more important. You ever watch that movie Good Will Hunting? It's a good movie about that, doing what you want to do rather than what your talents are, what your gifts are necessarily, or what you just be really good at. But it depends on what you want to get out of it too. Like for me, I'm doing bodybuilding. I am not trying to be a national level competitor or turn pro or be Mr. Olympia or something. I just want to get in the best shape I could get in, and it's a great way to do that. Right? Doing a bodybuilding competition is a great way to get into your best shape. And so for me, I know I will achieve that. It's like, I'm going to be successful at this because what I want to do is get into my best shape of my life. I will do that. Right? So that's my motivation. That's my purpose. I know that's attainable, and I know that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do it. And thanks for following along and being a part of this journey with me. I appreciate it.